Okay, so hot teacher, right, fixes school that is troubled with corporal punishment. Get Schooled! Get Schooled is about this new organization, TRSA, that is being established because of troubled schools that are basically allowing students, primarily, to abuse teachers. It's all because of a law that was passed that basically made it so that teachers could no longer abuse their students, and now students are using that and just doing whatever the heck they want. The main character, Hwa Jin Na, is essentially just like the typical badass, character. The way he implements these like teaching methods, right? Making sure that these students obey their teachers, like respect their teachers. He does these corporal punishments and corporal methods in a way that actually like achieves a realistic or almost like a reasonable goal. It always comes back tying into what the bully themselves were doing, which I think is just super cool. He's not just like beating them up and messing around. It's like, no, he actually has a goal here. He's trying to rectify the school, and it's really interesting because you don't normally read a comic where, there's always action and stuff in a lot of comics that are popular, but talking about corporal punishment almost in a positive way, but they always specify that it's not. However, the bullies are abusing it, and so when the abuse bites them back, it's like this happens. It's really interesting, not just from an action perspective, but also from like a psychological or philosophical perspective. I sound so smart. The topics are handled with a lot of care. Like, they're not just being thrown around here. It's not like, oh, watching students get bullied back is super fun to watch. It's not just left at that. Although it does feel super satisfying. There's a lot more going on here. Sometimes it's an all-boys school, sometimes it's an all-girls school. We have Hwa Jin Na, who's our main character, kind of like the lead person who's acting with this project. He's not the one in charge, but he's like the main one actually acting in the field, representing this new organization. But you also have other characters, particularly one other character who's introduced who also is assisting him. And it's like really cool seeing the differences in their methods, how they're not really like teachers, and yet they totally act like substitute teachers at times, instructing them in very unorthodox methods, and they're trying to fix these schools because these schools are resulting in horrific things happening. This isn't your typical bullying that you see in comics. Oh, no. This is not, whatever, eat this. It's not that. It's a lot worse. It's a lot worse. Sometimes they're like hiding knives in the cake, or they are making kids do horrible things to other kids by forcing them to, but then those kids were forced to by these teachers, and sometimes the teachers are at fault. It's not always the students. Sometimes the teachers are actually the ones at the root cause of this issue, and this comic handles all of it. I wouldn't call it a strictly action comic, although there is a lot of action. Typically Hwa Jin Na just freaking being awesome, which I am totally cool with. There's a lot going on here. It's not just one thing. The characters are really interesting. What I especially like is that this entire story takes place across multiple schools, almost like multiple arcs in a way, and yet the characters in those arcs are super memorable. And sometimes the arcs connect, right? Like the bully from one arc, maybe they're connected to the teacher in the other arc, and the bully gets redeemed in a way that you didn't expect because this bully was like the most horrible person ever. And sometimes they're not redeemed, but they have a conclusion to their story which hints that they're going to work towards atonement. I really like this theme in the story, atonement, right? Not necessarily forgiveness, not necessarily, oh, you're forgiven because you have an excuse, like you had something horrible happen to you in the past. Sometimes that isn't an excuse. Most times that is not an excuse. It is there, right? And it's valid, but you still became a horrible person. And because of that, you now have to atone. And realizing that is so powerful. The art, freaking incredible, because of course it is, right? The story writing, the pacing, it's all really well done. I'm currently almost 30 chapters in. I literally couldn't put it down, and I'm gonna keep reading it. I'm hooked. One of my favorite new comics. It's amazing. I recommend Get Schooled. It's freaking hype. It's really awesome. I love the story so much. So check it out if you're interested based on what I'm saying. The link is down below. Download the Webtoon app. Huge shout out to Webtoon for sponsoring this video. Maybe action comics aren't your thing. Well, that's fine because Webtoon has romance comics and mystery comics and thrillers and horror stories. Every kind of genre that you could imagine is over on Webtoon. So download the app. The link is down below. And with that being said, I will see you in my next Webtoon review. Take care.